Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is AllRedding. I'm here with Carlos Zapata. Thank you, sir, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You're on the tour. I don't
know, yeah. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of a whirlwind of the last couple of weeks,
You couldn't have expected this when you went into the county meeting, right?
No. I mean, I didn't even want to speak at this deal. I wasn't planning on it. I had a very, very set plan. Alyssa McHugh, and I don't know if you've had a chance to meet Alyssa yet. She's been a great hero in this whole movement. She's gotten so many people to unite and organize and gather together. And she'd asked me to be there, invited me, and I said, awesome, I definitely want to be there, but I already knew that I could only be there for about an hour, and then I had to go. So I went to say goodbye to her. I was getting ready to leave, and she grabbed me. She said, no, you're not leaving. I said, what do you mean I'm not leaving? I got to go. I got people waiting on me at home. She said, no, you got to speak. I said, look at that line. There's a line of 80 people ready to speak, and I'm not standing in line. She goes, no, you're going to the front of the line. Opens the door, throws me in, and there I was, facing the soups, and the rest was history. I think you guys have probably all by now seen the speech, And
oh, yeah.
It's the shot that was heard around the world, I guess, at this point. So,
I saw the video, but nothing really came back. You didn't get any feedback.
No, there wasn't any room for it. I've been asked that a lot. There was no time for it. You had a 3-minute allotment of time, and when that buzzer went off, I said, all right, thanks. And then you walk out, and the next guy walks in. So there was no conversation there at all.
And there's been nothing, no reach out from any.
Nothing.
It's just been.
No, it's all been very indirect. Things that I've seen online. I think the next day there was an article written that talked about how Leonard Modi had contacted or attempted to contact the governor. Asking him for help, saying, look, these guys are getting serious. Things are gonna, really, really get out of whack here if we don't do something soon. So maybe it was us. I don't know if it was me or the other speakers or a combination of everybody just kind of getting the message out there,
I wonder what kind of help he was looking for. I mean, is it help in like, hey, let us open up the county? Or
let's open up the county. I think it was more of a desperate plea, like, look, you got to give us something here because the natives are getting restless, And you can feel it in your bones. I mean, as you're walking around town, you kind of feel that frustration that people are feeling, and you can tell there's something brewing. There's, when this whole thing started, I think people were a lot more apt to follow the regulations, to follow the rules, just to see what was going on as we investigated and found out that this thing wasn't as serious. I think a lot of us said, hey, screw this. Guys like me were like, hey, 2 weeks in, I was done, man. I was like, I'm going back to regular life. And I think we're feeling that now from a lot of people, where they're ready to get back to regular life again.
Absolutely. There's so many different facets to this. Like when you say something like COVID, you could be talking about a whole bunch of different things. Like, okay, is this a virus, or the response that the government's had, the financial impact it's had, the social impact it's had. I mean, this feels surreal. This feels like a really bad dream.
It does.
In a short period of time, everything went chaotic.
Really fast, too.
Yeah, really fast.
Really quickly. And who thought it'd be this prolonged? I mean, like I said when it started, it was a 2-week deal, right? We're going to flatten the curve. And the whole idea between about flattening the curve was that we would free up beds in the hospitals in case our hospitals got overrun. Well, that never happened. Our hospitals here have been open. My wife works at the hospital. My sister does as well. They both work at Mercy, and they'll tell you that there's plenty of beds open, and the beds that are taken up right now are not because of COVID, But you hit on something, we were talking about the economic impact, on businesses, in our communities. That's huge, and I think that is that's where the conversation has to really start and end, in my opinion. And I say that because I'm a business owner, of course, but we cannot kill an economy over something that might be dangerous, because it's definitely proven not to be as dangerous as they originally thought. I mean, by the news, you would think that you'd be walking down this river trail, there'd be people just keeling over, right? Every 10 feet, people dying from this thing, and that's just not the case. So
the data that's coming out it's all over the place, but when it first started, it was a pandemic, and it's fear. People don't know. We've all watched Contagion. I mean, all you gotta do is spend a little time with Hollywood, Netflix, and you're scared of everything.
Absolutely.
The boogeyman's everywhere.
So I get it. At first I was like, oh my, but as the data has poured in, it's shifted from medical data to political data, right? And so it's much more, much more like this has become weaponized in the political realm. And then it's flowed over into the entertainment realm. And we're seeing like all these various movements, all these various things happening where they're trying to like latch on to this COVID, the energy, the angst, or whatever you want to put it, that it's creating, they're latching onto it. I'm hopeful because it seems like now, for lack of a better way to put the good, or what I think the good, is starting to latch on it too. Because to me it was bad. It was the protesters, looters, riots, burning, saying they had some justice, some social justice cause, and that was going to be served by burning a business down.
And the social justice warriors have latched on to this, right? They've capitalized on this whole COVID thing.
Big time.
But think about it. Without chaos and without fear, their agenda gets nowhere. Absolutely nowhere, right? They have to create a problem, they have to create chaos and confusion in order to create that fear that they need, in order for you to say, hey, I need a savior, right? We get to the point where we're so scared that we need somebody to save us, and here comes the government, right? Marching in with the cure, right? With the antidote to this whole thing. But that's not the case. I mean, like you said, as data has poured in, we know a lot more than we did some time ago, yet our measures have become more draconian, our regulations have become tougher and more firm on businesses, and more suffocating, to our communities. But this is crazy. And if you would have told me, Joey, a year ago that this would happen, I would have called you crazy. I would have said, there's no way this would ever happen in America.
It's a bad movie.
It's a bad movie. And it's not only that, it's how easily people ate this stuff up, and that's what appalls me. It almost angers me that people would just eat this up. I mean, as we're standing here and people going by, and some are wearing masks, some aren't. It's crazy to me. You're in the outdoors and you're wearing a mask. Why? What's that?
I see people driving down the street alone in their car with a mask on.
With a mask on. That is a sick kind of conditioning. I mean,
that's a phobia.
You've been conditioned. It is. It really is. And and there's a lot of people out there who say, well, you shouldn't judge people, if they're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. Well, I'm getting to the point now where I am judging you, because it says a lot about you. If you're wearing a mask in your car, drive by yourself, I have every right to judge you because that's ridiculous, and the masks are just the beginning of it, right? The mask is just kind of like that iconic representation of control, right? To muzzle ourselves.
Compliance.
Compliance, absolutely, And I'm not a compliant person by nature. Like, I will always go against the grain, I mean, if you tell me to go left, I'm going to see what's going on right, I'm like, I'll see what's going on over here, That's kind of my nature. But really, that's always been the American nature, right? We're explorers, man. We want to see what other options we have. We're not just these robots that are going to fall into line because
I don't know.
Us to, But I'm seeing it now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but what I'm seeing different. I'm being proven wrong right now, right? Because what we're seeing is that people will very readily jump into line, and obey, if you will.
Well, American, because we were talking before cameras were rolling, we're talking about, we're both talkers, and we get off on tangents, and I'm like, well, that's what talkers do. But people all the time, you say Americans, you're talking about 350 million people, okay? You're gonna have all aspects, everybody. Like Jeffrey Dahmer was an American. Right?
Of course.
Okay, so it's like,
of course.
I think that's what we have. I think we have a compliance. We have, this is gonna be a little arc, but 60%, I believe, of America is considered obese, medically so fat that they're impairing their health, right?
Yeah. And they're worried about a 99.7 survival rate, quote unquote, virus.
So when I think of Americans, I get, because I'm a former Marine, you're a Marine.
Yeah.
So I loved it when you said, hey, I'm not compliant. It's so funny how Marines are compliant, but they're not compliant. You know what I mean?
And let me say something about this. So if you think about this, and I've read a lot of articles and memoirs about, about this and how the Marine Corps differs from the other services, because, people always want to draw a parallel between the Army and the Marine Corps, right? And Jim Mattis actually talks about this and does a pretty good job explaining this, about how the Marine Corps encourages a maverick way of thinking, a real cavalier way of thinking, where creativity is pushed down to the lowest levels, where if you are in the Army and they say, hey, we're going to go take this city, they're going to open a textbook and say, okay, how did we do it last time? Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Well, the Marine Corps is going to say, okay, look, here's some lessons we learned last time, but go make this better. And they're going to give it down to that 19, 20-year-old kid and say, hey, go take that city. He's going to figure out a real creative way. So the Marine Corps has done an awesome job of fostering creativity and creating more of that cavalier spirit, you know, within their ranks than the other services. So.
What's that called when you get in trouble? It's a page 15 in the Marine Corps.
NJP.
NJP. Yeah. Okay, so it's basically you got reprimanded, 15, you got in trouble.
Yeah.
Article 15. Yeah. Well, Chesty Puller, who's one of the only 2 Marines to ever win the Congressional Medal of Honor twice, and he's like, you know, the Marine.
The quintessential Marine.
Good old Chesty. Yeah. But I think he had a quote that said, you know, until you've had an Article 15, you're not a real Marine.
You're not a real Marine until you've been in trouble.
Yeah, until you got in major trouble.
I think it was like until you've been busted down in rank or something like that, you know, you're not a real Marine.
Yeah, so the iconic Marine said, like, if you haven't caused some serious problems, then you're not a real Marine.
No, and that really is fostered in the Marine Corps, and it's even celebrated.
It is.
Like, nobody ever talks about the guy that just kind of went along with the flow. Everybody talks about the guy who stood up and bucked the system, right, and stood up for what he believed. You know, that's the guy that makes headlines. That's the guy that makes history, you know. It changes things. It affects change, you know. I think if everybody just fell in line, we'd be doing things the same way we were back in 1915, you know. So here we are doing things hopefully a little bit better in some regards, or worse in some.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they're going hand in hand. I think that both the good and bad, it's like in nature where you know, the cobra brings out the mongoose. It's like they you know what I mean? Yeah. I remember when I was in junior high school, I took this. This was so funny. One of the electives was. Oh gosh, the name of the course was something like Living Out Off the Land, and it was taught by a Native American woman. Took us out, and she told us wherever there's a poisonous plant, if it's indigenous, its cure grows within like 150 yards. Now, if that's true, I don't know if that's true or not, but then I believe it. She broke down like, okay, here's poison oak, and here's what you can do, and you'll find this plant and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like whatever one side brings, the other side steps up, and they, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I'm hoping that what the left has brought. And this, like, you know, these insane protests and these, like, hey, you know, you're not peaceful, so what I'm going to do is come in and burn your city to show you what peace looks like. It's ridiculous. Is that hopefully the right, the more conservative voice starts to stand up. I'm a little concerned about how it stands up because I don't want to see violence. I think I think the powers that be there actually. That are making money off of this chaos, because there's always people. There's when the stock market tanks, there are people that made a ton of money. On September 11th, there were people that made a ton of money off of shorting airline stocks, right? And so there are people that are making money off this chaos. There are people that are rising in power off this chaos, and I think they want to see more violence. I really do, and I'm hoping that conservatives can get out and voice their opinion and do it in such a way like, hey, look, we're going to show you we can protest too. We don't have to burn anything down or smash people with locks.
And I'm not a big protest guy. You know, I never have been. I don't know. I don't know that it does much good, to be honest with you. If I'm being honest, you know, if you ask me to go to some march somewhere, I'm probably not going to show up. I just don't think it's going to do any good, you know. I think 2 things do good in our political system, you know. Either you influence your political, you know, elected leaders to do what you want them to do, or you have to be willing to go to the next step, which is armed conflict, right? Which we don't want to do. We will only use that as a last resort, you know. Can we go parade around? Sure, I guess. I just don't think anything's ever really been, I don't know, come up that.
You and I were talking about another option is in a capitalist society, you vote with your money.
You do.
You absolutely, where you go spend your money, that business prospers. The other day I went into a store, I wasn't wearing a mask, I got harassed. So much so that a guy came up to me, it blows my mind, this guy looked like a giant pot-bellied pig with a mask and an ammo hat, comes up and starts cussing at me, asking me if I'm ignorant. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going fisticuffs, man.
We're fighting.
And he was like shocked that I would be like, brother, you just stepped up to a stranger. But anyway, so my wife and I said, we're not going to go there anymore. That's how we're gonna go to Orchard. We shop over nutrition.
That is the way to fight, you know. But you were saying earlier, you know, that we want peace. We all want peace. I don't want violence. You know, we want peace. We don't want our kids to grow up in a third world country where people are fighting in the streets and people are shooting each other. That's terrible. You know, we would never wish that upon our kids or upon our grandkids or anything. But I wonder if that's eventually going to be a way to get the peace that we want, right? I wonder if eventually we're going to have to fight these guys. I mean, and you say, you know, these guys want violence, you're right, but they only want violence if they're in control of that violence, right? They want to be able to burn businesses. Why are they going and burning businesses? Because they know that most business owners aren't going to fight back, you know? They're not going to fight back, they can't. No, they have their hands tied. But if people were to fight back, you know, like these couple guys that got shot, you know, by this kid in Kenosha, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say how I feel about that. You know,
of course you are. It's America, man.
I think it was a great shoot. Should that kid have been there? Probably not. It makes me sad that a 17-year-old kid had to do the job that grown men should have been doing, you know, for their own businesses. If the Palomino Room was under siege, I'd be the first one there. Hopefully with some of my buddies, you know, but I'll definitely be there, you know, as a grown man defending my property, you know. So this kid, what I've read is that he'd gone there with a first aid kit, with first aid mindset, right? He was gonna go there to help people that were hurt.
There's video of him cleaning graffiti.
No, there was, and that night, I think he'd gone to some, no, he was a lifeguard, that's what it was. He was a lifeguard at a pool in Kenosha, and then said, hey, well, I'm gonna take my first aid kit and my gun and go help people if they need it, you know? But you're right, he'd gone to clean graffiti with some friends or something like that off a building. No, I'm not saying he was a bad kid, I think he was a great kid. And I think that was a really good shoot.
Me too.
You know, I think he did a great job in shooting those guys, and it just happened to be it. Those guys were shitheads. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, you know,
of course.
But they were. So I wonder if eventually these people will realize that once we fight back, you know, they're not gonna win, and maybe eventually that'll lead to the peace that we want. Maybe then they'll back down, because we're not the ones who are gonna go out and loot and, you know, pillage our cities. We're not just those kinds of people, you know?
To me, they are a terrorist organization. I mean,
100%.
that's the whole idea of terror.
And the president should say that. I think the president should say BLM is a terrorist organization. I wish he would say that. You know?
Antifa is a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think BLM is just an arm of Antifa.
I think it is also.
Or vice versa.
I don't know if that's a whole nother thing with the whole Black Lives Matter and the idea of like, no, there's an organization that has a charter as Black Lives Matter, and they have the Communist Manifesto that they promote.
Yeah, it's a Maoist organization. It's
totally,
Marxist,
absolutely. And it reminds me of, this might be a stretch, but it reminds me of No Child Left Behind.
Yeah.
Where you had this name that you're like, well, who would vote against No Child Left Behind? And then you pull it back and you go, wait, you're lowering all the standards of education. So it's this perfect, like, let's name it this.
100%, because none of us are going to say, well, Black lives don't matter. Nobody's saying that, you know?
No, of course
and I think
not.
it's ridiculous, you know, when we say all lives matter, you know. I understand. They're like, well, you know, we want to bring attention to our issues and, you know, the Black community's issues. I think that's great. Listen, the Black community has a lot of issues they need to deal with. You know, let's be real. Let's call it what it is, right? They have been held hostage by a Democratic Party that cares nothing about them, that only wants their vote.
Yep.
What have they done for their neighborhoods? What have they done for their education, for their schools? What have they done to make good entrepreneurs and businessmen out of these people, you know, to educate them? I mean, they haven't done anything for them, okay? All they've done is perpetuate this vicious cycle, you know, of a fatherless society within the Black community.
75%.
That's led to where they are. But if you say that you're racist, if you point out the faults in that community, you're racist. But I'm not pointing out their faults because I want to put them down. I'm pointing out their faults because we need to deal with it to make America better, because they're part of our country, they're part of our history, you know? Yes. And they're part of our communities, our friends, our neighbors, you know? Listen, I want your people to be better. I want the Asians to be better. I want the Latinos in this country to be better. I want the blacks and the whites I want everybody to get along. I hate racism. I want to completely eradicate racism, but we don't do it by ignoring our issues that we need to face, you know? And Black Lives Matter, I think, is an organization that is not actually addressing the issue. All they're doing is igniting a fire, you know, really for no reason, you know?
I'm trying to remember the lady's name. I know, I think it's like Sandra Rosenberg. She was a domestic terrorist that was pardoned by President Clinton, and she's one of the co-founders of BLM.
Oh, is she?
Right?
Yeah,
she was,
I've heard the name.
She was a left-wing terrorist that was prison. I can't remember, did some bombings or something like that, but and got pardoned. Clearly shouldn't have been. But no, the organization, what they've done is they've put a name on you know, this is their name and this is their agenda. Like I said, no child left behind. Okay, cool. Everyone's gonna have a horrible education. And that you couldn't fight with that.
And I don't.
That's politics.
And I don't claim to know your plight, right? I don't claim to know the plight of a young black man. I don't claim to know the plight of, you know, anybody other than myself, my experiences. But what I can see is what common sense tells me should be and shouldn't be, right? And I think it's our responsibility to use that common sense to hold each other accountable, right? So if I see you doing something that's universally wrong, I should tell you, you should tell me, hey, you probably shouldn't do that because it's ruining the rest of the community, right? And this is the way we need to act. People are afraid to say anything, right? We've been silenced our whole lives. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, you're gonna offend somebody. I grew up in Sonoma County. At Sonoma High School now, you're not allowed to wear any shirt or have any clothing that has an American flag on it because you might offend the foreign students in that school.
That's insane.
That's how far we've gotten, okay? I mean, again, if 20 years ago we'd have talked about this, we'd be like, nah, that's not true. That was
a book.
Yeah,
it's a bad book.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. Not here. That's somewhere else, right? But here it is.
But I bet you can wear any other country's flag.
Oh, you can wear whatever the hell you want. Yeah, I'll bet I could wear
just not the flag you live in.
Communist China, yeah, 100%. Sorry, I cuss.
You can go ahead, brother.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I cuss a lot, but no, I'm trying to contain it. So, but that's how far we've gotten, right? So if we think for 1 second that these organizations aren't meant at taking our identity and our patriotism, we are 100% mistaken. I saw a sign the other day that somebody was holding a sign that said, patriotism is racism. Think about that for a second, right? Racist is the word that everybody uses. That's a game stopper, right?
Oh, yeah.
That right now, if we're having a conversation and somebody says you're racist, everything stops. And we all take a deep breath and we sigh, right? So
it's meant to shut down the conversation.
They know this. They know this. They use that. So when you say patriotism is racism, what's that eating at? It's eating at our patriotism. It's eating away at our love and our respect for our country. And once we lose that respect and love for our country, we've lost our identity, and then we're nothing. You know, I said in 20 years, we wouldn't even know what an American looks like, you know? We're not even gonna know what a man or a woman look like in 20 years, you know?
Okay, Marine thing here. Remember when they taught us about Charlie?
Yeah.
Charlie's your enemy over there.
Charlie's your enemy.
But who's the worst enemy? Jody. Jody was so they taught us, they said Charlie is the enemy.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who know what Jody is Sancho, right? Sancho would be like the civilian term for a Jody. Jody's a guy who, when you're gone, doing your country's work, he's a guy who's sleeping in your bed with your wife, who's watching your TV, eating your food out of your fridge, drinking your beer. You know, that's Jody. You know.
So they always taught us, you know, Charlie's. You're going to go meet Charlie on the battlefield, and there's a respect. There's respect for your opponent, right? We don't, you know. People that don't understand that, if you've ever been in sports, and you see those martial artists that respect each other, like, dude, I want to take your block off, I want to respect you, right? Like Anderson Silva, right?
Of course.
Just respect. And then there's the guy that's always got to be, you know, that's at least Charlie. That's the person that's willing to meet you in the ring, meet you on the battlefield. Jody's the one that's going to go behind your back.
Behind your back, absolutely.
Tell, hey man, you're 100%. The best. I love you, Carlos. You take care. I'll look after your stuff while you're gone.
Yeah.
Well, look at what we have now. We were so afraid of the enemies that were outside the country.
100%.
Look at the ones that are really affecting
100%.
us.
No,
and that's
you're right.
in politicians. I mean, we have. I don't know politics well enough. I don't understand, like, when we hear about, like, you know, well, the president has this executive order they can or cannot do that. The governor has this executive order they can. People start arguing, no, it's not constitutional. I don't know. Sounds good. I mean, but I don't know enough. I'm not educated in that way. But I can't help but feel like, looking at what I hear some of these politicians say, that that should be treason.
Yeah.
That they are inciting violence and riots. They're yelling fire in a movie theater.
100%. And if you want a voice in this conversation, if you want to see at this table, it's got to start with patriotism, right? Because we can't have a conversation about how to make this country better if you don't even love this country, you know? And I feel like the left, call it the Democrats, right? And listen, I was a Democrat, okay? I was a Democrat for a lot of years. But when that party lost its patriotism, when I felt like they lost their love for this country, I had to leave and go to the other side, you know? Based on a few things, but mostly based on the fact that I felt they just didn't love America anymore. They would rather have seen America on its knees, bowing to other countries, than leading the world like we always have, you know? So at that point, it was me to pull chalks and go, you know? But we can't even have a conversation with them anymore, because I don't believe that they even love this country enough to make good decisions for it, you know? Their idea of an America for them is an America where we have an equality, but not an equality that's like you and I would think equality, where we all have equal value, right? But an equality where we're all the same, where we're all robots, where we're all very compliant, very subversive, very submissive. You know?
Sounds like communism.
It sounds a lot like communism.
Yeah.
And I've seen this playbook. My parents came from Peru, and they left Peru because of what socialism had done to that country. You know, people fled in droves from South America because of what was going on in the countries down there. Look what happened in Venezuela. Went from one of the wealthiest, you know, most beautiful countries in the world to people literally eating off the streets, you know, trying to find food, you know, and that's only a function of the communism and the social, and we could argue communism, socialism. Let's just use them interchangeably today, you know, just for the sake of where we're going. But we're on that crash collision course with that kind of life, you know. If we don't stop this now, we're going to be them. And people in Venezuela would have said, no, that'll never happen here. People in Peru and Chile, they said, that'll never happen here. And it didn't. It ravaged their countries. And so what makes us think it's not going to happen here? Because we're eating it, you know. Because it never gets sold as what it really is, right? If they sold you what it really is, what they really want, we would never buy it, you know? And look at Castro in Cuba, you know, he sold it from the center. He sold it as he was a centrist, he was for everybody. He wouldn't even admit that he was a socialist. He said, no, I'm a Roman Catholic, I believe in freedom, I believe in all these things. And he made all these empty promises, right, to people. And people died because they believed these promises, you know? And people continue to die for believing in promises that we're believing here today, you know? And it's just not a good deal. So people say, hey, Carlos, why do you want to fight so bad? Why are you so, you know, outspoken and adamant about this cause? And well, it's because I really feel like we need to leave our children and our grandchildren some semblance of what this country should be, right? I would rather my grandkids put flowers on my grave than ask me, hey, Grandpa, why didn't you fight? Why did you let them do this to us? You know, you could have fought. You could have gotten your buddies together and gone and fought for this, but instead you were compliant, you were subversive, you laid down, and now we live in a country that's like every other country in the world. We're nothing special, you know? So.
Man, that's powerful stuff.
Sorry.
No, that's good. It's like, I'm taking it in. Yeah. I'm not waiting my turn to counter, so I didn't have a good. I'm just like, wow. It sounds like there should be some music playing in the background. I love the sentiment. What you're saying. Here's the issue I have. How can we activate these people? Mm-hmm. Not everybody can. Like, I would say, obviously, vote.
Sure.
I mean, that's the no-brainer.
But you can't vote your way out of socialism. Remember that.
No, agreed. So we have to vote now.
Yeah.
But I think we have to get more active. I don't know the exact way to, I know that the people can pass laws. Yeah. The people can get enough signatures to get a bill, and then they vote. I know that it's not as easy as just having a congressman. Sure. It's, you know what I mean? You're gonna maybe have to skip one of your episodes of your favorite TV show.
Yeah, of course.
But we're a little too soft. Yeah. That's apathy is the thing that scares me.
That word you just said, we're very soft.
Yeah, we're very apathetic. 60% obese.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You
don't get obese by hitting the gym every morning.
I'm going to invoke the spirit of Chesty Puller again, since we brought him up earlier. You know, there's a famous quote by Chesty Puller where he said, and Chesty, for those you guys who don't know, he is the most iconic Marine, you know, ever. I mean, he is the guy that we all look up to, you know, and bow to, and pray to. So Chesty Puller said, if we stay as soft as we are now, a foreign soldier will invade us, take our women, and breed a hardier race. You know. Wow. Yep. Sparta. Yep. That's what he said. Yeah. You know, because he knew we were getting soft. Are you kidding me? This is part of the reason that I left the Marine Corps, because when we were young Marines, we used to drink black coffee, and that's just how it was, you know? We drank motor oil, and we ate donuts, then we went to work, you know? Now you go on a Marine Corps base, and you go to Starbucks, and Starbucks at 9 a.m. is full of Marines drinking these foofy latte drinks with whipped cream on them and chocolate swirls and all this crap. I'm like, look how soft we've got. Are you kidding me? The Chinese would come and they would rape us. Like literally, if they saw what I was looking at, they'd kill us all. Smiling. Shit, their kids would kill us, you know? It wouldn't take much, I'm telling you, you know? And that's how soft we are. And I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, dude, why at 9 in the morning when you guys should be training, working, becoming better Marines, better warriors, are you sitting in Starbucks on your phones like this, slurping on some sugary soft drink?
You touched upon so many things there, like, you know.
That's all I could go off.
I want to go back to the party system because, well, I think both parties are a facade. I think the two-party system is a facade. I think that they are both, you know, we have these lifelong politicians that are making $170,000 a year, and yet they're worth $90 million.
Yeah.
Like,
they all come out millionaires.
They pass laws like, if you and I learn about some information on a stock and we do some stock trading, a la Martha Stewart, we go to prison.
Yeah.
So they just made a law that says, no, if we do it, it's not illegal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's like a bunch of prisoners saying, hey, you know what? Rape is not illegal if we do it. You do it, you're rapist, but if we rape, well, because we're prisoners and we pass, I mean, it blows my mind.
And I'm going to get this wrong, but there was some deal a while back when this whole COVID thing started. Didn't Dianne Feinstein and some other senators dump a bunch of stocks or something like that?
Yeah, because the closed door meetings, they dump a bunch of stocks. Next day it's announced, the stocks plummet. But that wasn't illegal. That's my point. They passed a law saying it's not
treason
illegal.
To me.
I agree.
That's treasonous behavior, you know?
Yeah. That's an enemy behavior.
Okay, but we put up with it. It's our fault. It's not their fault. It's our fault because we put up with it.
Apathy.
And we say, well, there's nothing really we can do. But there is. Imagine if we all, now I'm going to go to the other extreme now, right, to make a point. What if we all got guns and we went to the Capitol and we said, hey, you're not doing that. There's more of us. There's more arms in the hands of American citizens than there is in the top 7 militaries of the world, okay? More arms. There's 6 million registered hunters, like avid hunters in this country. That's an army, that's bigger than the Army, okay? You're gonna tell me that those people aren't gonna fight? You're gonna tell me that those people can't take over a state capital somewhere and put a gun to somebody's head and say, no, you're not doing that, we're not allowing you to do that, this is our country, you know? Well, you can wait 2 years, 4 years and vote. No, that's not it. I didn't vote for you to do whatever you want. I voted for you to represent me and for me to keep you accountable. And this is what we don't do. We don't keep our politicians accountable because we have no teeth. And this is why I always go back to the gun thing. People say, oh, Carlos is crazy, he's a domestic terrorist. He's threatening violence on American citizens. He's, you know, trying to invoke, you know, civil war. No, I'm not doing any of that stuff. What I'm saying is that our voice has to have teeth behind it, right? If we're having these conversations, there has to be a bottom line. What's our bottom line? Our bottom line has to be that, look, we are American, and by definition, we're all militiamen, even if you belong to a militia or not. You know, by definition, every American citizen is part of the American militia, right? Which is why we have the Second Amendment, which is why we can all own and keep guns, right? So that's there for a reason. So if that's the teeth to our argument. So if we sit here and we say, hey, this is what we want you to do, and you don't do it. We ask you and we vote, and we ask you and we vote, we ask you and we vote, and you're still not doing what we want. And you are not only are you not doing what we want, right? Because that's petty, right? Well, they're not passing those bills that I want. I'm going to go shoot them. No, that's not what I'm saying. When they are trampling on the Constitution, when they are taking away our constitutional rights and going against the Constitution that they also raised a hand to defend, then that's when we have to come in and say, look, we got to pull our teeth out now, you know, and bite. Well,
I'll come around to that.
Yeah.
So I would say, let me counter that. Let me take that energy and take that motivation that you're talking about, and how about we start putting bills on the docket and we start passing laws and we start taking away the rights of Congress? How about we make it so that when they do get caught dumping that stock, it's the same federal felony that put Martha Stewart in prison?
Absolutely, 100%.
How about if we say, hey, you know what, 2 terms and you're done? How about we say, and then after you're done, you cannot be part of any lobbying group for 10 years.
But these are all ideas that have been out there. These are ideas that have been for generations.
But here's the thing: if we can't sign a piece of paper and we can't vote, I'd say anybody that can't sign a piece of paper and can't vote isn't going to go get an arm and go march.
Sure.
See what I'm saying?
Sure.
I'm asking for the same energy that you're saying, but I'm saying we can change the law. We have mechanisms to change the law. We're not victims, right? Yeah. We're giving them the power. We're giving them the keys to the front door and then ask them not to come in. It's time to take it back, and we can do that through legislation.
But these mechanisms are broken. These mechanisms,
let's fix them.
I mean, that's easier said than done, I think, you know. And listen, I'm not hopeless here. I'm not saying we're already here. We know that our only option now is just to go march on with guns. That's not what I'm saying. But we're very close to that, you know. And unless we figure out how to fix that mechanism, you know, that gives us those rights, then I don't know. It's going to be a really, really gnarly road ahead, you know.
No, I think it's going to be a gnarly road no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't think there's I always love to quote a good Rocky song, but there's no easy way out.
There's not.
There's no shortcut
home. No.
No, there's not.
But we have to be directly involved, you know. I mean, how many people know what Shasta County Board of Supervisors actually passed in the last meeting? Do we know? No,
I don't know.
Nobody does. That's what I'm saying. Nobody actually reads the dockets. Nobody actually reads the transcripts of what they're actually passing. And if they read them, it's too late. They've already passed it, right? So we need to know what's on the docket, what's going to be voted on, what votes are coming up, so that we can actually affect some change, and we can actually, because these guys, otherwise they're just going to vote. I mean, if you elect me and you never hold me accountable, you never have any contact with me, I'm going to vote my conscience, right? What I feel is best. And eventually, you know, that becomes what's best for me and not for you. You know?
Or what's best for my party, not necessarily America.
Yeah.
Because my loyalties are to the party first.
100%.
So do you know much about the constitutionality? I don't know if that's a word.
Constitutionality?
It's got a lot of syllables in it. Of the mask mandate. I looked it up this morning, like, could the governor, and it was like, well, if there's a pandemic.
The knee-jerk answer, right, is like, oh, it's unconstitutional. It's kind of like the racist word, right? The new word is on our end is, oh, it's unconstitutional, but people don't really know what that means.
I like calling everybody a pedophile.
Yeah.
When that's my counter. When they call me racist, I'm like, pedophiles always say that.
That trumps it every single time, right? So the constitutionality of the mandates, I really think if you talk to 3 different lawyers, they'll tell you 3 different things.
That's what I think too.
And none of them know, and they're all trying to ask each other.
It's uncharted territory.
I have a really good attorney, and he's even like, you know, it's hard because there's always an underlying state of emergency, right?
Yeah.
That is kind of like the catch-all.
That was key.
That's catch-all to everything, right? So if there's something I want to do, I'm going to have to declare a state of emergency and give myself a carte blanche to be able to do, the things I want. That's kind of what we're seeing now.
That's what we're
so
seeing,
who knows?
exactly.
But they're enforcing it. They're enforcing the mandates as if they were laws. That's the issue. So this brings me to my next point. Whose enforcement lie upon? It lies upon law enforcement officers, right? Or code enforcement officers who are local people. They're people that actually have to come to Joey's house or Joey's place of business to have a conversation with you, right? To issue you a citation, a ticket, or a warning, or educate you, as they say they're doing, right? And those are the people that we need to influence, right? Because they actually have a choice, and now we're starting to get into some new territory here. This is the next frontier.
Well, you see it at state level, different states. I mean, overwhelmingly, there's the Democratic states are seeing the biggest outbreaks, the biggest mandates, and they're going together. On top of that, then you have it broken down by county.
Yeah.
And I mean, I read a great article about all these sheriffs in Texas that said, I'm not going to enforce. First off, it's unenforceable.
Yeah.
You can't, by the way it's very written, and then I was talking to Ryan Denham last night.
Yeah.
And he was talking about in Siskiyou County that they went around handing out fines to people, or telling people they were going to fine them. Like they went door to door, which I would have thought Siskiyou County would be even like.
Absolutely, and nobody ever got into law enforcement to do this. This is bullshit. Like nobody ever got into law enforcement.
Meter maid.
Yeah, nobody got into law enforcement to go shut down a hair salon, or a restaurant or a bar. They got into law enforcement because there's actually bad guys out there, and the bad guys are winning. I think that they're literally jumping over $1 to get a dime right now.
Yeah.
There's some real bad stuff going on. Instead of focusing our resources and our efforts on catching the bad guys, you're gonna come after somebody like me who's put everything they have, everything they worked for into a business. Come on, man. I'm not asking for anything. I'm simply asking to be able to open my business, and that's it. And there's a lot of other business owners asking for the same thing. Maybe not as vocal as I am about it, but listen, this is what we need, or our economy's going to fail. We're broke. I mean, this state is absolutely broke. This state cannot afford for people like us not to be paying into the tax system. Not to be paying for our schools, not to be paying for our roads, not to be paying for our infrastructure. And I think Newsom himself said it, right? There's no money left in the piggy bank, So.
And again, I don't know the specifics, but he was given, I think, $19 million earmarked for Shasta County. The way that he was given the money, $19 million was supposed to come here from the federal
18
government.
and a half,
yeah. But they were given the money, and he's like, oh, sorry, that money's gone.
Yeah.
So wait, how are you not held accountable as a governor that you accepted the money
and
then you say, I'm going to put it over here?
And that's where I hold our local elected officials accountable, and responsible for that. I see the future of this country going back to a very agrarian society where we are living in smaller communities that take care of each other. We grow our own food, we make our own products, we import and export based on our needs, and that's how it should work. That's how this country was supposed to work. We weren't supposed to be under the same, I'll use dictatorship, because I think that's what Newsom is, as San Francisco and Los Angeles and San Diego and the rest of the state.
Because we always lose the vote to them.
We always do.
We do some state vote about how we should handle the Shasta Dam and the water, and guess what? LA said they'll take it all.
Absolutely.
Shocker.
Shocker. Of course they do.
You know what I mean?
Of course they do,
And, in there, like Governor Newsom letting out, I think it's 18,000 prisoners?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you tell churches they can't meet, and you force care facilities for the elderly to take in COVID positive patients, and yet you're saying, well, we got to let all the prisoners. This is out of a movie. This is surreal.
It is, and we watch him do these things, and we accept it. Again, we accept it.
We feel powerless to it.
We feel powerless. We feel, and what you just said is really key. We feel powerless, and we're not. We need to remember who we are. We need to remember that we actually do have the power. We can stop him, And you said there's a mechanism for that. And I've seen petitions going around. I've probably signed that petition, 8 times, whatever. It only count for one.
That's how I'd like to do it.
And we did it with Gray Davis, right? We recalled Gray Davis quickly,
So see, it can be done.
Yeah, but Gray Davis didn't have this machine behind him. I don't think Gray Davis was part of this great big.
And I think Newsom is absolutely being groomed for president.
Deep state picture.
Yeah.
Oh, he's being groomed.
So deep state,
Yeah.
you brought that up,
Yeah.
right? You want to tell me what deep state is?
I just think that there's another force, I won't get into the details, but I think that there's, puppeteers above what we see.
Of course.
I think that every politician at that level, at a high level, is beholden to somebody. I think they have really deep, dark secrets that are being held, you know, held against them.
Well, it's like the stock market. I mean, if you just study it a little bit, it's so illogical the way it flows and what happens. And then you listen to like some case studies on someone like George Soros and what he was able to do with the British pound and manipulating currency. And you hear about these people doing the same thing, manipulating stocks. And so this idea of conspiracy theory is a wonder. That's one of those labels that like to dismiss people, right?
It's very dismissive, right? Absolutely.
And the idea is like, you don't think that there are powerful people getting together behind closed doors going, hey, look, here's how we're going to make a ton of money. You don't think that the pharmaceutical companies can come in and say, hey, look, if we spend $30 million with the right members of Congress and Senate, we can get this law passed. Well, how much money are we going to make?
Of course.
We're looking at $1.2 billion. Spend it.
Spend it.
Spend it.
Now, punch it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course, that stuff happens all day. That's called marketing in the regular world.
It's naive to think they're not doing that.
No,
you know?
super.
It's very naive, you know? I think there's people up there that are way more powerful than the people we elected. They're put in place, you know?
Come on, this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing.
I know.
Like, if you look...
Why hasn't that blown open yet? Like, why have we not captured the scores and scores of pedophiles that are within our government? Why have... And this again, and listen...
Well, former President Clinton,
I'm
26
a Trump guy.
flights.
I'm wearing the hat. I'm voting for Trump. But I'm also holding him accountable. I'm also a critic of his. And I say, look, all these things that you said, all these people you said were going to be in jail, why aren't they in jail yet? Why isn't Hillary Clinton in jail? You know, why isn't Bill Clinton in jail? You know, why aren't all these pedophiles locked up? I'm hoping that it is happening. It's just happening slower than we'd like. I'm hoping that he's working on it, you know.
No, absolutely.
Because that's number one, right? Let's protect our children first, you know?
Absolutely. That's the
nothing else matters.
Underground Railroad.
Yep, nothing else matters.
This was, I went to a ClickFunnels conference a few years ago, and the gentleman started this, I believe he's a Navy SEAL. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they're an organization that goes and finds kids that are being trafficked for sex.
I've heard of this, yeah.
And they get them and they get them out. And he gave a presentation. I mean, it was, dude, we were balling. There's
sure.
20,000 people at this conference, you know, there to learn how to do marketing, and we're all crying as he's real stories, and they had real footage where he's wearing a GoPro where they kick open the brothel and it's a bunch of little children, and you're just like, and
that's God's work right there. I mean, that's they're doing probably the most important work he could possibly do.
Or I think he's an Army Ranger, but Tim Kennedy fought in the UFC. That's what he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
He does that now. He's in this program where they go in and they help children.
That's a scary, scary individual, right? I mean, talk about a guy who's hard to kill, you know, right? That's that dude. And I love what he said. That's his message, right? Just be harder to kill today. How many average Americans? Yeah, he's a great decorated veteran, you know.
Yeah.
But how many average Americans are becoming harder to kill every day? We're becoming easier to kill every day, you know? And going back to the obesity thing that you talked about, that's a matter of national security. And I said this years ago, where we cannot any longer find qualified young men, I'm gonna say young men and women, but young men to fight our wars, you know? Think about that. So either we have to shrink our military for the qualified applicants, or we have to do what? Drop our standards and let people in that maybe aren't as physically able.
No soldier left behind?
Yeah, something stupid like that. Nothing surprises me anymore, you know? I won't be surprised now if they got rid of height and weight requirements in the Marine Corps or any other service, because you might offend somebody for being a fat ass. I don't know, you know? The whole fat shaming thing, bring it back, you know? If you're on a plane, you're taking up 2 seats, pay for 2 goddamn seats, you know? If your rolls are hanging over onto my seat, you're paying for mine too, you know? But you can't say that.
No, you can't.
You want to charge me for my 52-pound bag, right? I think you should weigh in to the plane, to the airline where you're checking in to get your ticket, weigh in with your luggage, you know?
Years ago, we went to Disneyland. We've gone several times.
You get on a scale, not your luggage. You get on that goddamn scale, you know? Anyways.
We went to Disneyland a few years ago, and I don't know if you've been to Disneyland, but I mean, you're waiting in these monstrous lines, and we get up to the front of the line, and there'd be this morbidly obese, because obese isn't a strong enough word, person in a cart that would pull up. We're talking 400 pounds, and they get to go right to the front. But here's the deal. Them and their entire entourage, literally, there was this guy, and he had like 9 or 10 people with him, and everywhere we went, I'd sit in that line for 42 minutes, and here he just rolled up and hopped on. And I thought, you think, oh, don't be mean to that guy. I'm not being mean to that guy. I didn't say anything to that guy. But here's what, the system came up.
He got there by being a piece of shit.
The system came up and said, we're going to reward you. If you'll just not take care of yourself. You know what I mean? If you'll reward you. And it was similar to when I went in the store the other day, and that guy's looking at me and he's giving me crap for not wearing a mask. I'm like, brother, And he walked up to the pharmacy. I thought the irony of, here he is, 50, 60 pounds overweight. Hygiene didn't look that good. He's probably there to get a couple of meds for his blood pressure. Rather than go for a walk and eat vegetables for 6 months, it's like, no, I got just enough energy to tell somebody they're a piece of trash and then get my prescription hot back in my...
I posted a meme about that the other day. I never post memes. I actually hate memes. But I posted one. It was the person in a wheelchair with their McDonald's bag or whatever, you know, pointing at the person saying, "You're killing me." Apparently, a person not wearing a mask saying, you know,
that's what it was. That's what the guy basically did.
And that's what it is, you know. Yeah, because this isn't about our health. This isn't about keeping Americans healthy or safe, you know. If they want to do that, they'd shut down every McDonald's, you know. And I don't want them to do it. I love McDonald's, so I don't want them to do that, you know. But
the point being,
if they really cared about, you know, our well-being, that would be it. They wouldn't be taking this avenue with this COVID, whatever you call it, you know, China virus.
Now you're going on tour, right?
Yeah, I just got invited, you know, by Dr. Cordy Williams, who's an awesome American, also a Marine, you know.
I didn't know that part.
To go on this pretty cool tour, and I've been posting it on my social media. It's called the 1776 Forever Freedom Tour, and it's pretty neat. There's 5 stops. There's St. Louis, Missouri. There's Sacramento. There's Colorado Springs, Fort Pierce, Florida, and then finally in Washington, D.C. on October 17th, before the election, a couple weeks before the election, you know. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm pretty excited, you know. Listen, when this whole thing started, I'm not the kind of guy who's ever wanted fame. Like, in fact, I've always tried to go the other way, you know. I've always kind of tried to be the guy in the shadows, just kind of influencing people I need to influence, you know, and helping people, mentoring people. But here I've been kind of like, you know, slung into the limelight, if you will, you know. And although I don't like it, I'm comfortable here. I'm comfortable enough to be effective, you know, and I realize the importance of having a platform now. So I'm going to run with it and take it, you know. So when I get invited to things like this, I figure if I have a voice now where people can hear this message, I think it's important, you know, not to sit by, but to, you know, participate. So
I think it's real important. I'm a little concerned about the platforms, because the platforms themselves are held by people that have very far left, you know. YouTube is owned by Google.
I'm already they took down my video on YouTube, on Twitter. If you go on Twitter, so I went from 0 followers to 13,400 followers in one day, okay, on Twitter. If you go to Twitter now, you try to find me, you can't find me. People are like, "Oh, I can't find you," you know, because they know what my message is. Are you kidding me? We're being censored like you would not believe. Facebook, same thing. We are being censored and shut up.
Which is really, to me, helping the left, because, for example, what happened in Kenosha, I've seen 2 videos. I've seen the short video where you see a kid shooting some people and you're like, oh my goodness. Then there's a longer video where he's attacked once.
And he's skateboard and they don't show that part though.
And he's running and they're hitting him, and the one guy's got a gun in his hand. And it's like, you know, like he's running from them, and he hits them, they hit him, and he falls down, and then he starts shooting, and you're like, but they really are manipulating that first message, and that's part of the problem. The left took over all of our media. First, they took over almost all the TV, which is junk, but now they have. I don't understand why we don't have conservative billionaires saying, hey, we need to build a platform that's. There is one, Gab.com, and if you go there, you're going to see the worst of humanity, right? But the idea is it's First Amendment, okay? So you can say, look, I don't want to hear your Hitler stuff. Get out of here. I don't want to hear your, you know, Antifa stuff. Those people, but it says anybody can post. It's something that's. And I care less about that one. I'm saying we need more like that.
Absolutely. All the information that we have is manipulated, right?
Yes.
All of it. All of it. Even what I'm telling you is manipulated to fit my narrative, and what you tell me is the same thing, right? But think about it, when you manipulate something from their end, I feel like they are manipulating the natural order of things, because everything has a very natural, and I'm a very like natural law kind of guy. I think less laws, more nature, right? I think like if you come to my house, I should be able to kill you, you know.
Wow.
And not ever.
I'm not going to his house.
No, that's not. Let me rephrase that. If you break into my house.
Okay.
If you break into my house, you don't have to tell me.
Hey, we're meeting Carlos.
You come to my house anytime. No, if you break into my house, you know, in the middle of the night, I should be able to shoot you, and not for 1 second think about the recourse or the ramifications of that, right? I'll say this. The world hates the alpha male, okay? The alpha male has been under attack forever, okay? all of this is an attempt to bring the betas and the gammas, the people who would never be in charge, who would never be leaders, up to our level, right? That's what they want. They want to make everybody equal, everybody the same. They want to disrupt the natural order of things to the point where they want the alpha male to be silenced. The guy who's out there saying, no, we need to fight, no, you're silenced. The guy who's out there saying, hey, we need to be patriotic, no, you're silenced. The guy who's out there saying, I want to be a leader, I want to lead something, no, you can't, you know? Which is why we have participation trophies now, right? In sports, nobody loses, right? Oh, no, nobody can be a winner, nobody can be an alpha, right? Everybody's got to be the same, you know? It's okay to tie, you know? It's okay to score as long as they score too, you know? But it's never okay to win, right?
These hierarchy structures that they attack, it's funny, they don't attack them when they suit them. Like, for example, why isn't anybody mad about professional athletes and the amount of money they make? Yeah. These are people that got to the top
I don't watch sports, so I won't give it.
What I mean is, they're not, if they want equality of outcome, why aren't they mad at LeBron James?
Sure.
Why aren't they mad at these professional athletes that are making millions of dollars? Because, well, that's okay because I like that, that's my hero. There's a completely double standard.
There's disparity there. You know?
Yeah, or when Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire, starts to lecture people on how to raise their kids. Wait a second, you don't have any children. How to be a good marriage. Wait, you're not married. And then I see her giving a lecture on white privilege.
Sure.
I'm like, you're a billionaire, for God's sake. Oh, but you don't know what it was like. She had tough time. Like,
are you kidding me?
Because that mindset knows no bounds. The victim
Nobody
mentality.
ever told her she couldn't have her business. Nobody ever shut down her business because of a virus, right? And here guys like me are sitting here going, hey, all we want to do is be able to sell some beer, you know, at my bar. I want to be able to sell some food and have people dine in. Are you kidding me? And here we are, we can't do that, you know?
The mindset that the left permeates, it has no bounds, and it is it is the mindset that this is what Hitler, National Socialist Party, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot, Castro, the biggest mass murderers the world has ever seen, have all started from this, the very argument that we're seeing from the left. And the audacity of it, that a billionaire can sit there and give a lecture on privilege, like look down at me and go, what did I do wrong, Oprah? What did I do, Oprah? Well,
exactly.
Skin color. And I can tell by your skin color you're a racist. That's what I know. It's like,
you're absolutely.
Like, that's crazy. But that's what, it knows no bounds. I loved Will Smith. Always, dude, I had Rock the House, the first album.
But he got beat down by his own race. He was called an Uncle Tom, you know? Because
I stopped watching his movies when he didn't get nominated for an Academy Award and he said Hollywood was racist. I said, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If it were racist, how did you...
But before that, do you remember, before that, years and years and years ago, you know, he was called an Uncle Tom. They said that he was, you know, whitewashed because he spoke well. It's something as simple as that.
I never heard that.
Yeah, something as simple as the fact that he actually spoke well, he was articulate, you know? And he was called, you know, all these names by his own race, you know? Because people naturally don't want other people to succeed, you know? I'm not that way. I love it. When I hear success stories, man, I don't get jealous. I get enthusiastic and I get inspired, you know?
Likewise.
Like, that's awesome. I love hearing people's success stories. Where a lot of people don't like to see people succeed. And I hate to say this, but my culture, you know, the Latino culture and the Black culture are the biggest culprits in that, you know? We are the biggest offenders, you know, where in our culture, you're never happy for anybody, right? So if your neighbor gets a new car, you're never happy for him. You're like, oh, that guy must be dealing drugs. That guy must be doing something he's not supposed to be doing. That's just the way, it's like woven into our culture. You know?
Really?
I'm not that way, you know?
Never heard that before.
But our culture is that way, absolutely. We're never happy for anybody, you know?
It reminds me of Dave Chappelle's Player Haters Ball.
Yeah.
It's like hate. It's like, drink from this cup, I'm sure somebody spit in. Like, okay, I just thought it was a hilarious skit. I didn't realize it was actually...
But I've never used the race card either in my life. I've never, ever played the race card, you know? And
I've tried, I just don't get very far with it.
I've been called names, I've been this, but I've never let it stop me, you know? And I think that's why I have a unique voice too. So when Latinos or Blacks or the people, you know, want to play that race card, I call bullshit, you know? I'm like, dude, I've gotten to where I am. I own businesses and I've been successful. I'm educated. I have a wonderful family. I own my home and, you know, I'm living the American dream, you know? And I never once felt like anybody had a thumb on my head telling me I couldn't do that. I don't know.
That's part of that left victim mentality. Is it pretty soon you're not black enough.
Yeah.
You're not transgender enough. You're not
Yeah,
gay enough.
yeah.
You're not
You're not weird
disabled enough.
enough.
Yeah. They eat that. That was, to me, that's why I wasn't as scared or fearful as I'm like, they'll eat themselves. They always do. Like you said, pretty soon Will Smith, this I thought at one point he'd run for president.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just on top of the world. I didn't know that he got criticized or called any of these things. I heard when he's like Hollywood's racist. I'm like, man, Hollywood's racist?
Are you kidding me?
Are you?
What's next?
What?
NBA's racist? I'm like, come on.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But when you're pumped with that message,
Yeah.
when you're constantly told that every time you don't get exactly what you want in life, it's because of something you can't control, that is a powerful victim message.
Sure.
And it destroys the soul, right?
It does.
Versus the other side that says, hey, look, you are the master of your domain.
You really are.
I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you look like. Right now, wake up and crush it.
Yeah.
Start crushing it right now.
In America, you could be president if you wanted to.
Yes.
There's nothing telling you can't.
Yes. Dude, a guy, a black dad from Africa, white mom, grows up fatherless, president of the United States.
There you go.
Come on.
And
he's a millionaire.
And does zero for the black community.
Well, that's a side. I'm just saying, if that's not, if somebody can't look at that, I mean, what story do you need? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what do you 100%. Need to succeed? Because I can kind of get it. Like,
and I think some people have it, right? I mean, some people just have some inside them. I have a good friend, really dear good friend of mine, that grew up fatherless. Mom was off doing stuff she shouldn't have been doing. He raised himself, would literally feed himself, clothe himself, like had to just scrape by on his own with no other family help,
Self-reliant.
Complete self-reliant. Ended up joining the Marine Corps, and he is now a psychologist. He's a doctor, And I'm very proud of that story. I'm very proud of people like that, because you can use them and say, look, I came from nothing. I had all the odds stacked against me. The cards were literally stacked against me, and yet here I am, and I made it, and I'm here to help other people. And that's the American dream, But somewhere along the line, you're told that you can't, and they believe that. Somewhere along the line, they're told that, that they're limited, or that they're not capable enough, or not strong enough, not smart enough, not big enough, not tall enough.
And they're told it all the time. They're told it all the time.
But they believe this, and that to me is the saddest part of this whole thing, right? It is. It's an absolute indoctrination. It is a brainwashing, and it's debilitating. It's debilitating to our country. But that's what they want, right? They don't want successful people. Successful people, we're loud. We speak. We're confident. People who aren't successful, they follow along.
And
they're happy in their cubicles.
I'm blown away when people can't see. I understand, because people have their life to live, man. I saw a thing the other day. I was in my chiropractor's office, and they have all these stats that run up on the thing. And it said that the average American today deals with more mental and emotional stress in 30 days than their grandparents dealt with their whole life.
100%.
Their grandparents had physical stress.
Why do we see depression? Why do we see high levels of suicide? Why do we
Drug
see
use,
failed relationships, divorce rates, child abuse? Why do we see these things? That's all a function and a construct of what you're saying, This is it. I mean, this is just, to me, this is what's tearing us apart. We've said this all along, right? What's going to take America down, it's not some external force. It's not the Chinese marching in here and killing us all. It's not the Russians. It's not any of that. It's going to be us. It's going to be us devaluing our culture to the point that we can't even recognize ourselves, right? I think that's where we're at now. We don't even know. We have no identity. We don't even know who we are, And our identity shouldn't be, and I'm white, or I'm black, or I'm Latino, or I'm Asian, or whatever, or I'm pink or purple. I don't care what you are. Our identity should always be that we're Americans. We have our differences. We have our different backgrounds and cultures, but first and foremost, we are uniquely American, and we're exceptional because of that, And that's my message, I know it sounds so cliche, I have a black friend, or I have an Asian friend. Well, that doesn't mean anything, What it means.
I think it does, though. They planted that seeds years ago, like, hey, I have black friends. That doesn't mean anything. Like, I think it does, dude. If I was a racist, how would I have these friends? If I was like secretly
I get it,
burning
but I feel that's what people say when they actually are racist. They say, well, I got a black friend, I can't call me racist.
No, because we were told.
But what I'm saying is this, like in the Marine Corps, we don't see color, man. We got brothers and sisters.
Dark green and light green.
From all walks of life, man.
Yep.
And I don't remember, this guy was this guy was that. I remember the times that we had together, the friendship, the relationships we have, the people that they were, their character, when Martin Luther King talked about the content of your character, that means something, you know, that's what I'm looking at. So, yeah, this whole race thing, I mean, what an easy bait to take, though.
It
right?
is.
I mean,
absolutely.
God dang. And if anything's going to take us down, look what's happening right now. This is all because of race. You know, set aside the whole COVID thing. We're talking about Antifa and BLM. You know, it's not about social justice. You know, it's not really about reparations. You know, this is about wanting to create chaos and confusion for them to come in and take the control that they need. That's it.
And you know what? I want to touch upon something that I've been saying with my friends, is that I understand the angst of these people, and I understand their anxiety, and I agree that there is something to be anxious and have anxiety over. Yeah. But I think that what is really causing that, and certainly how they're addressing it, is absolutely wrong. I think there is our capitalistic system has been gamed, right? During all this COVID, a bunch of billionaires became even more billions, right?
Even
Small
richer.
business was shut down, and Walmart and Amazon and Costco are going.
They want to get rid of the middle class.
Yes.
Right.
So I understand that angst. I understand the dude, why is all the money being taken off the table, right? I understand that, but they're being told, oh, well, it's because of race.
Sure.
Billionaires are billionaires, man.
No, yeah, exactly.
Somebody's taken your business shut down, and they rose.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what race they are. They didn't. I don't get checks in the mail because I'm a white guy. I don't be like, hey, it's the 13th. I get my white check from Jeff Bezos. Hey, Jeff, I haven't got my check yet. That doesn't happen. There is a group of people, and they're taking all the resources, all the chips off the poker table, and young people are having anxiety, angst. Sure. I understand that. Yeah. They were sold a very bad bill of goods. Oh, go get a college education. You know what I mean?
I just talked about this in the last interview, about this college education stuff. I was raised in a time when we were told in school, from the day you went to first grade to the day you graduated, you have to go to college, because if you don't go to college, you're going to end up being a plumber. Well, guess what? I just had to get a plumber.
Friends are rich.
I had to get a plumber. It's $100 an hour for a plumber, and if you're in the company, you're making even more.
That's cheap.
Well, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So we were told, don't go into the trades because you're gonna end up, being a dummy, right? You're gonna end up in the trades. Well, guess what? Tradesmen are the most intelligent, smartest people I've met. Who are the business owners? They're not guys with big college degrees. Those are, guys with college degrees are trying to get jobs teaching at colleges, making pennies. I have a college degree.
Me too.
Okay? And I'll tell you what.
I busted my ass for that degree, and I think I was 30 when I actually officially got the piece of paper, because I had to keep going back to finish, because I was working
the only
the
thing
whole time.
my degree was ever good for was for my commission, being an officer in the Marine Corps, and that's it. That's the only thing my degree did for me. Other than that, you can take that thing back. It's an expensive piece of paper. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, hey, I want all my kids to go to college. I want them to go to college. But as I start to unravel this whole thing, as we start peeling back the onion and we see what's really going on, we see that these colleges and universities really are just funnels for indoctrination, right? And why were we told this? Why were they so adamant that we go to college? They were so set on those. And the metric for high schools being recognized as successful or unsuccessful high schools is measured on what? It's not measured on how many kids go out and get jobs or go into the trade schools.
Go off to college.
It's how many go off to college.
SAT scores.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a system geared towards indoctrination. And liberalism lives and is bred in these universities.
Now, see, that's okay. I consider myself a classic liberal.
Sure.
Right?
We're all classic liberals.
Yeah, I'm
classic liberals.
Yeah, you pray to whoever you want to pray, or don't pray at all. Yeah. Marry whoever you want.
I don't care.
Or don't marry at all.
I don't care.
Just stay off my lawn, man, and don't ask me to pay for your stuff.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's me. Well, that's libertarian. But I hate that the left and liberal became synonymous, because the left is not liberal. They're militant. That's not liberal. That's militant.
Absolutely. The anti-fascist is the most fascist thing.
Yes.
The
irony.
The irony. They're the most fascist. I saw a video the other day. It made me sick. It was a couple that you probably saw. It was going around. It was viral. A couple that was sitting at a table eating dinner without a mask on, and this girl comes up. He starts screaming at him. And what does that guy? I won't even call him a guy. What does that cuck do? He takes and he puts his mask on because she was yelling at him, and he puts his head down. And I'm like, oh my God! I'll bet his wife doesn't want to sleep with him another day of her life. What kind of woman wants a man like that? That's not a man. But going back,
I thought you were talking about the one where there's a couple. Everyone's wearing their mask in D.C. and there's a couple sitting there, and they all raise your hand for being.
Oh, I saw that one, and that girl wouldn't.
And they were on her, man. They were like this,
yes,
and I
saw that one. I saw that one.
I thought, here's the deal. If I'm there, not talking trash, but I'd be afraid the steak knife is going in her throat.
Yeah.
That's number one, because like you can't have 30 people.
No.
The videos I've seen of people getting kicked in the head, you can't get right here yelling at me. That's to me assault.
100%.
I don't know if legally it's assault, but now your assault is going to bring my battery.
Yeah, I'll fight that in court.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there watching that, and it's very similar to like the kid with the gun. It's like he shot people. It's like, do you not see him being chased?
Yeah, he was going
to
die.
Hit with a skateboard.
Did you see the fella in Portland?
Yeah,
that got kicked in the
they
head
kicked
and
his head.
died?
Yeah.
They killed him.
There's several
They were
people
going to do
died.
that to him. They were going to kill him.
Yes, of course.
You know?
One of them had a gun. I think the guy that got shot in the
he
arm
did.
actually had a pistol.
He did.
Yeah.
And that was
So
a
what
good
was he
shot.
going to do with the pistol?
That was
Just
a good
he was
shoot.
just going to pistol whip him a little bit.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
No.
I'm glad he's going to look down his arm every single day and remember what he did, you know?
I want to talk about somebody who I admire a great deal is Eric Weinstein, Eric and Brett Weinstein, and they are classically on the left, but Eric Weinstein was just on Senator Ted Cruz's podcast. I don't know if you saw that. It was awesome. Yeah. Just to see those two, you know, because I think Senator Ted Cruz is awesome.
Yeah.
That's something else, you know, you can't like anybody.
Sure.
Right? Because then they can bring up the worst.
Yeah.
Do I agree 100% with Senator Ted Cruz? No. But I love his story, and I like listening to him. I agree with him probably 70% of the time.
Me too. Yeah.
Eric Weinstein, love the dude. I never got to meet him, but hey, Eric, if you ever get to watch this and we have a chance, let's hang out. That's the call.
Yeah.
But he got on there and he said, the moderate left and the moderate right need to come together. We need to realize that we are...
The answers are in the middle.
In the middle, and the extreme... The extreme right, I don't even know how much extreme right they're this big, but the extreme left and the extreme right are dictating the conversation. And meanwhile, we're being tossed, and we're so much closer together than we are to them.
100%.
You know?
And we're not all that different, you know? I travel a lot, my wife and I, and anywhere we travel, we always like to sit at the bar, because I feel like that's where you get to know people. That's where you really get to see what's going on in the town you're in, right? And
Totally.
you get to hear the happenings. And one thing I've always commented on is the fact that we're not all that different. You meet people from all walks of life, and the first thing you ask a person is not what your political affiliation is. You don't ask them how they voted or who they voted for, who they're voting for the next election. You have conversations about other things, about, you know,
you got kids,
work, kids, or
sports,
what you like to do, what there's to do around here. You know, absolutely, you have a conversation about 100,000 other things before politics has to even come up, right? Maybe not today in this divisive world, but in my experiences, and we're not all that different. But we want to be told that we are very different. We want to be told that we are divided. We want to be told that, no, you're from here, you cannot talk to each other, right?
You're not American.
Yeah, you're not, no,
you're
exactly.
Prefix American,
you're
so that you can segment them out.
You're an Asian American, you're a Latino American. I hate that. I'm an American.
I wanted to find my segment, like my something American, but we did this like ancestry thing.
Anglo-American?
Dude, blonde hair, blue eyes, you'd think like, oh, I've got 2 different Native American.
Sure.
I'm English, Irish, Norwegian.
Yeah.
My aunt did. It was just basically the poorest people slept with the other poorest people they could find. They had a poor kid. Then he went and found the poorest girl he could find.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, man, I think I'm just American.
Yeah.
And I think if I go back far enough, I'm from Africa. I just gotta go back a little bit further.
We all go back.
Yeah.
We all. You know what? Hey, listen, and that's the beautiful thing is that we're all Americans. We don't have to look the same to be Americans.
No.
You know. In fact, it's beautiful that we're so different. We like different foods, and we live in different types of homes and places, and you know that's culture, man. That's beautiful. You know, we need to celebrate our differences. You know, not use our differences to stack us against one another. You know, to separate us. Let's use our differences to come together and learn about each other, and that's a beautiful thing. You know, I don't want everybody to be like me. How boring. My grandmother, she's still alive, and bless her heart, she's like the eternal optimist. I've never heard my grandmother say a bad thing about anybody. Actually, I shouldn't say. She says plenty of bad things now about the liberals. You know, she's just turned 90 years old a few weeks ago. You know, and she's just appalled at what's going on in this country. But she said one day, she said, Carlos, because I was sitting there and I was mad about something. She said, Carlos, what fun would it be if we were all the same? You know, yeah, that's pretty good, Grandma. You know, what fun would it be if we were all the same? And we think we want everybody to be like us, but we don't.
No.
We think that we want to convince people to think and be and feel and dress and act like us, but.
Because we want reinforcement that our decisions were good.
The fuck
Do you know what I mean?
That? Yeah, that sucks.
If you wear the same shirt as me, then I know I made a good choice in my shirt. If you'll pray to the same God that I pray to, then I know, I must be, you know, that's...
Don't even get me started on religion, man. That's a whole other podcast, dude.
We're not, but that's what it is. You know, people want that affirmation that they made a right choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that goes back to us as being tribal animals. Like, you get kicked out of the tribe. You don't, I know you've heard this because it's popular, is that they ask people what they're afraid of, and public speaking trumped death.
Yeah, I know.
And they say
First.
it probably goes back to
Yeah.
like, if you had to stand up and talk in front of the group, you were justifying your ability to stay with that group, and that was
Absolutely.
terrifying.
That is
right?
terrifying.
And so that's there's this cocktail of like not wanting to, you know, and so we
But
seek
why
this out.
is that? It's not really the fear of public speaking, and that's the fear. I thought they're scared of. What are they scared of?
Judgment by
They're scared of sounding stupid, of not saying the right thing, of somebody judging
never
them,
stopped me.
Right? No,
Sounds stupid all the
sounds
time.
stupid every day. I
Yeah.
mean, geez, you know, my 80-20 rule, right? I try to keep 80% logical and making sense. 20% is jabber that nobody's going to understand. But
That's pretty good numbers.
yeah, maybe 60-40. I don't know. But yeah, so it's really not a fear of public speaking. It's a fear of acceptance or not being accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
I should say. you
Yeah.
know?
And being judged.
Yeah.
So,
But that's not surprising. I mean, you know, I think at the end of the day, we want to be accepted. You know, we want to be loved and we want to be respected. And I think those are all really human needs. You know.
dude, man, this has been.
cool.
I love what you said a minute ago about on our next podcast, because I'm
Yeah.
going to hold you to that, because I'm going to have you come back on.
I love to
again.
come back on. I love this stuff. You know, this is fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.